Sure. Sell us one of their used ones out of the rental, for rock bottom price.
Oh, absolutely.
We could have something that's about a 3,000 to 5,000 lumen. That really lights up the screen, really makes a difference.
Did you see the menu for the sponsor for the trailers at the beginning?
Yeah.
The longer one would be one way to almost.
We're here at the Niles S&A Film Studio. Robert Burrill at the Niles S&A Film Studio. And we're exploring a possible past incarnation here at the S&A Studio. And I'm focusing on a man named True, and his theatrical wife, Virginia. Robert, when you looked at True and Virginia's picture, did you feel any sense of psychophysical correspondence?
I have to say she looks familiar. Can't quite place it yet, but there is some type of connection there.
Well, great.
Absolutely.
Tell them where we are today.
Well, here we are on October the 29th. It's a Sunday, and it's Robert Burrill and Lynn Rogers are speaking at the S&A Museum. And there's my partner, Lynn. You want to wave at the camera and say everybody? And you can see we had the Milpitas Monster in place here, and that's coming at the theater, which will show at 4 o'clock to all of the people who will be coming. Hey, Lynn, I hear you're going to be a speaker today. How's it going today?
Very well, thank you. Some folks have expressed an interest in Where the Flowers Have Gone, new book, and Born in Berkeley. This is an opportunity for Bob and I to share our co-creative projects, just like the early filmmakers who preceded Hollywood here in Niles. We have a lot of creative projects developing in the South Bay.
And I'd just really like to thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome, Bob.
Okay.
You're absolutely welcome.
So on May 21st, 1976, the Milpitas Monster was born. Here's his costume. Kind of a garbage monster. He's kind of sucks in through it like a osterizer. So here we are at the cinema, the S&A Studios, where films like ours were made years ago. It's a nice way to resolve the 30-year anniversary of the Milpitas Monster. Yeah, you can't make a movie without duct tape, so we got that there. There's our monster's hands. And now on DVD.
So we managed to win that auction. So you're looking at an original poster here. This is the original from the era. These two people were married. Actually, around the corner we have a trunk they left to their children. But this film was lost. It was believed to be one of the approximately 70% of the films that were lost from the era. And about 2 months or so, it showed up on eBay. Who knows where? Out of somebody's garage, attic. We don't know where, but it showed up on eBay. It's a Bronco
Part of the show
so
biz.
of course we want it. We now need to win the auction, and we send it off to lab to get a copy. We haven't got it back, but as soon as we get it back, we're probably going to show it with a big deal, because it's a lost film coming back from life, and we have the poster. Nice. And her hat and stuff all around the corner. I'll show you some of that stuff. Her bonnet, she's also featured in that picture right there. These are the Snakeville series out of S&A, a regular series with regular characters. But that made sense, because when you had only 10 to 17 minutes to show a film, you wanted the audience to recognize your characters. You wanted them to know it's corny, the guy with the white hat was a good guy, the black hat was a bad guy, the mustache was a little slimy. Well, it'll let them bond to the characters, let them know what's coming on. And these guys had these regular characters, their audiences loved them, and they were waiting for the next Snakeville comedy to come out for the next week. And they would shoot, approximately 1 a week of these and 1 a week of something else, 400 films in 2 years, and they pulled it off until, well, the whole breakup of it, a couple things happened. There's a distribution system, a patent system that these guys had bought into. Well, that broke up around 1916. There was a monopoly sort of suit against it. There were money issues. Other studios were going to 2-reelers, 3-reelers, 4-reelers, longer films. The money guy didn't want to invest in it. He said, I might have to spend $20,000 for a film. How do I know I'm going to get the money back? Well, Cecil D. DeMille was doing it, and he was doing quite well. He didn't want to do it. Anderson wanted to, so they were kind of bickering there. Their distribution channel broke up when the patent system broke up. They took a break, never resumed. Never resumed here. And it's funny, the studio itself was a great studio. You would think somebody else would come down and rent it. But it turns out there was some arguing over the rental on it. And the two parties arguing over the rental argued for more than 10 years. And people even came down and said, I'll put the money in escrow, whoever wins gets the money. But they couldn't agree to that. And 10 years later, talkies came around. And that studio, which was a darn good studio for silence, for talkies was lousy. First echoes all over the place. It's next to a train track. It's next to a major highway. It's in the middle of downtown. It is not a good place for talkies. So talkies pretty much had hit by 1930 something. 1933, they tore that place down. It was just a funny looking building. We don't know that those connect to that, but it's contemporary at least. We don't see from people working at the same studio at the same time. Like he said, the previous owner told him he'd gone up there and the place was just full. More to sit with all movie posters and fill out because they're part of going those lines in the attics and where I don't know what they're anymore. But there's some value in it. And we'll have things. We'll certainly do comedy nights. But we did, for example, a 100-year anniversary of the Earthquake, where we show films that were filmed since this lady had been on the train track 40 times in her career. We showed a film from her about 6 months ago. She got to rescue the guy. But finally, late in her career, they let her rescue the guy. Or maybe they came with a few hits, but they didn't come with complete anything. And we were a Nickelodeon theater. Charlotte Tiger Diamonds or Cracker Jacks. It's not a great prize, but it's just a little. You're buying a show. You're not just buying the truth. You want to watch a film. And if you want to kill it, these are the kind of popcorn shows.
Let me take another one for.
About 10 minutes ago.
What do you want to say about them? In summary, what would you say about
Well, everybody kind of asked about Milpitas Monster 2, and I was just explaining that, oh yeah, that's a whole property, and this is the real story, because Milpitas Monster 1 was a cover-up for the real film that happened underneath this film. It's a CIA cover-up. It's all part of
Thank you.
Ed Wood's cliche. Okay, there you go. be more films like Movies too. Here we are in the SNA studios. We're here with David Keene, the author of the book, and the exact title again is
Bronco Billy and the SNA Film Company.
and its 30-year anniversary of the Milpitas Monster, the first feature-length film ever done at the high school community level, and I was proud enough to be part of that. I never thought it was ever going to take off to be what it is, but here we are with a man that really understands the tradition of film and the history.
Here we are, a lot of independent artists in the South Bay.
No, this is my co-writer Lynn Rogers, who helped me with so many other projects, and
Just like SNA
Jack can probably
Studios.
come over and watch that camera, be sure it stays on the line here, because I have some questions I'd like to ask these creative people. What do you think it was, these early people that came into the Niles Canyon area, and why did they happen to come here?
It was the scenery and the weather, and I think the SNA people thought that the San Francisco Bay Area was the place to be. That was the cosmopolitan city of the West Coast.
You know, and that really persisted. My books are about the 60s, and this has always been the pivotal place of change. With Milpitas Monster, 30 years before its time on pollution, in our time of global warming, I think we have passion here in the South Bay and in the Niles area, and we also have something to say about social change and giving voice to those who don't have a voice.
Yeah, and one of the entrepreneurial persons to the industry was, of course, Thomas Edison, and that's back in Menlo Park, Pennsylvania. And the story of the great train robbery, I think, was actually filmed back there.
In New Jersey.
Could you tell us a little bit about the beginning films and how that transition came?
It was a West Coast phenomenon, East Coast phenomenon. It started in that area and moved west. The Great Train Robbery has a connection to Niles in that Gilbert M. Anderson was appearing in The Great Train Robbery.
That's right.
He actually performed 3 roles in that film.
And that was actually filmed back in New York, though.
That was filmed in New York at their Edison studio and in New Jersey on location
Okay.
near the Fort Lee
And
area.
then Go West, Young Man.
Yes, that was what resonated with Gilbert Anderson, and he went to Chicago, formed the SNA Company.
Wow, that's Chicago.
there, and then decided to go to the West Coast because of the scenery and the weather, and so it all tied together. That one person tied it all together.
And the Transcontinental Railroad comes right through this canyon,
Yeah.
which is the railroad story. And did he
Yeah.
do any films with railroad trains here?
It's using the train. He'd actually outfitted a baggage car with a developing outfit, and so they developed films on the run as they were going around.
You know,
Did they film in the immediate area? Where location-wise, besides the Niles Canyon for one?
Los Gatos, they were there in 1910, 1911.
The ALVISO, did they move down?
Not that I know of. They went to San Rafael. They were there for 7 months.
Okay.
Made 42 films in 7 months.
I maintain that we're pioneers here, and that we do things seat of the pants with passion, creativity, and verve.
Do you know Lucy Arnaz? Do you know who she was? Welcome aboard, Lynn Rogers. Anyway, it's interesting to see where the Hollywood tradition, but Los Gatos was a big place for filmmaking.
I'm from Los
For a little
Gatos.
while.
And
I
you
still
live in
have-
Los
I live on
Gatos?
the edge of Los Gatos and
my
San Jose,
microphone.
and I live on the edge, the cutting edge, and we're all about it.
Yeah.
It's great,
And
great to be here.
we're here in the Edison Theater. That's
Oh.
what it was first named when it was built in 1950.
Well, this location, this actual location?
This building was the Edison Theater, built the same year that the studio was built.
Oh, I did not realize that. So they actually were using it for rushes or spoons?
No, it was a regular movie theater. It was the first one in this part of the country.
I did not.
And so all of the SNA people came here to watch their films, including Charlie Chaplin and Bronco Billy Anderson and the rest of the SNA company.
So here we are, we're
So,
Mr. Chaplin.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dave.
thank you.
Okay, we'll give this to you now.
Cut! Okay, Nola, can you say hello?
Hi,
Hi, what are you doing here today?
I volunteer here.
You volunteer. You look like a movie star. What's you look like you've got to be a cat.
Yeah. How'd you guess?
Well, I'm just kind of looking over here and I'm thinking, oh yeah, there's a cat. All the way down to her feet. Oh, where's your claws? Oh, there must be a lady underneath there. She is. Thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
we are in Niles, California, home of S&A Film Studios, the beginning of Hollywood, here in this rustic little town of Niles. Niles, California, home of Charles Chaplin, Bronco Billy, even actors who got their start in the great train ride, place it all happened. Rustic little alleys. The alley of the past in Niles, California. Has to offer.
Thanks for coming tonight. I don't have my cane, but we thought we'd like to do a little song and dance. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the S&A Museum, Silent Film Museum, for allowing us to come and share the 30-year anniversary of our classic film, Burrill, Peter's Monster. I'm here with my co-author of a new book called ALVISO, San Jose, which is where we filmed The Monster, and of course Milpitas, the capital of San Jose. And it was that very humor that opened up the doors in 1976 for the bicentennial celebration of our heritage. And then I was honored to have met in the second writing on the ALVISO book, my co-writer. This is Lynn Rogers.
I'm dressed today in nautical attire because we're going to open up, have a little prelude to the Monster movie. We have a short, brand new short on the making of ALVISO. It's a whale of a tale. Bob and I are both part of a creative tradition, I think, that began at S&A Studios. We are people in the Bay Area who are involved in grassroots creativity. I'm the author of a couple of books. One is called Born in Berkeley, and it's about a very young girl taking to the road in the pivotal 60s and all of the time of that turmoil with Neil Cassidy and of the Jack Kerouac On the Road fame and Ken Kesey. This is a sequel that just came out, Where the Flowers Have Gone, a two-part love story set in the materialistic 80s and taking us back through a young man's perspective to the 60s. I've also written books on women's spirituality and joined with Bob. It was hard to get away from being a novelist in writing this, so I think you'll find a lot of short novels that beneath the characters of ALVISO. It's a whale and tale.
Feature tonight. We have a short film, a short we call it, that introduces the making of our new book on ALVISO. We've got a couple comments we wanted to make before you see that. The new technology of filmmaking opens up avenues for a lot of people, and don't think that you can't make a movie. So today's technology with the DVD potential is so amazing. And just before I retired from teaching in Milpitas Unified School District, I taught their traditional photography for 35 years. And then when I finally had a chance to retire a little bit early, they said they would pay me to leave if I left early. I said, okay. So we were able to, I had a little bit of time with Mr. McDonald, who came down from Bay Area back roads and filmed me with my students out in ALVISO, where we actually filmed some of our movie. So on May the 21st, 1976, we premiered a very special film called The Milpitas Monster Movie. And recently, about 2 years ago, on eBay, I acquired a copy of the movie on VHS that was distributed in Japan with subtitles. So I said to myself, if one of my films made it to Japan, I must have been a successful filmmaker and didn't even know it. So there you go. So everything's connected, and one of the things about photography, teaching photography, it's all about the light. Photographers are people that are in love with the light. And Einstein said that light may be the most profound statement in the universe. Imagination, more important than knowledge. So those are some of the thoughts that come together, and having taught photography for a number of years, I have an appreciation for the art of the fact. An art of the fact, a better description of a photograph. Imagine history without the photograph. You'd have to rely on the artist. And I give you an artist here, Lynn Rogers, who is very talented at that. And we had some interesting combinations of passing paths.
Both Bob and I come from Menlo Park, California. My father used to administer the United States Geological Survey that did all the mapping and earthquake research for the western United States from Alaska to Colorado. But when there was ferment at the collegiate level in the 60s, as a very young girl, I found myself interested in artists, interested in the passionate traditions that have been passed on from bohemians and beats like Jack London and Charmian London, whom we just wrote about in our new ALVISO book, into a host of young people who were sort of tired of the materialism and the sameness after the war and wanted to create some meaning. That's blowing your horn, isn't it?
Lynn was born in Berkeley. She really was. Ask her.
Of course, my dad would never read this, and of course, I wouldn't have done the things in that book. It's fictionalized. And a little too explicit for those under the age.
But anyway, everything is connected, and like I say, Lynn and I met each other, but didn't know. We grew up probably about 10 blocks from each other, but didn't know it. And I went off to get hired as a baseball coach, believe it or not, in their high school, and they needed somebody to teach photography, which was my hobby. And I worked toward a master's degree in filmmaking and went on from there to do 16mm film in the old classic tradition. And the film continued and it grew to a series of films which I've done over the number of years. But the most fascinating thing is that there is a connection to everybody and everything that's happening on. And here was Lynn in the same town where I grew up, and I went off to San Jose State, and the history of the tradition of moving toward doing photography in Milpitas led to the Milpitas book. And then that research led to finishing the research of the ALVISO Milpitas corridor. And I just wanted to review in everyone's mind to set up the film you're about to see, how important the northeast corner of the Santa Clara Valley is. And it's all connected, you see. And you have to go back to the very beginning of California and go back to 1770. Where was the second mission? Carmel. That was the second mission. 7 years later, 1776, San Francisco. There's a mission, Dolores Assisi, put into San Francisco. Right away, the food from Pacifica wasn't going to be enough, so in 1777 they go to Santa Clara.
And that's an important thing to think about. We live near San Francisco in the Santa Clara Valley, but the old saints, Francis and Clare from 1100 in Assisi, Italy, they lived in a very materialistic time. Their parents produced cloth of gold. Francis went off to the Crusades, and then they sort of became the first bohemians. They decided to throw all that away and live a simpler life, more in harmony with ecology. Unfortunately, the new missions had soldiers who abused the Native American peoples, but were returning a lot in ALVISO and in the whole Bay Area with the Don Edwards National Wildlife Preserve. We're returning to a sense of ecology and guardianship of the earth, a common interest of Bob's and mine, and the Milpitas monster, for all its spoofy qualities, begins to touch on that theme long before the real threat of global warming.
Okay, so here we have 1776 in San Francisco, 1777 Mission Santa Clara, and there's barges of flat-bottom barges, mission barges which are bringing the food back and forth, the hay, and the vegetables back to San Francisco. Okay, 20 years later, 1797, Mission San Jose, which is not in San Jose, it's over here, below Mission Peak. That was the next mission in the area. Okay, about 45 years later, we find quicksilver in Almaden, 40 miles to the south in the Almaden area, quicksilver, which is used for processing and separating the gold. And that was shipped all the way out to Mexico. 10 years later after that, they find the gold in the Sierras. And we all know about the 49ers. And so from San Francisco comes the world. Through Buena, which it used to be called, they would do a walk's journey to get to the gold country. They would take the southern route. And then by the time they got to Mission Santa Clara, a day's walk, remember, no bridges, they would get up in the early morning, and then for the first time they would turn east, and they would head toward their destiny. Their landmark on the horizon were the Milpitas Hills, what they called the Diablo Range. And the landmark was Mission Peak. And so here comes California into this particular region. The Constitution is written in Pacific Grove at Colton Hall. They decide to put the capital of California in San Jose. 1850, state becomes a state. The port entrance to the state of California is the Port ALVISO. And here come the 49ers right along this road that turn the corner through the Smith shops, the Smithies and Milpitas, and headed north toward Mission San Jose and into Livermore. So there you are, where California began.
ALVISO was the great shipping port, the Barbary coast of the South Bay. Almost as big as San Francisco. It had ships going out to China. When we write about ALVISO, we're really writing about this part of the Bay Area, the South and Northeast Bay, and the Niles area. The drawbridge we write about. The drawbridge is now a mythical ghost town. But once, when the Southern Pacific and South Pacific Coast railroads ran, particularly the South Pacific Coast, drawbridge had all kinds of scoundrels, wild living persons, as well as a few families, living out in its nether reaches.
And so here's the new governor of California, Burnett. Peter Burnett has a house in ALVISO. And he's working at the courthouse in San Jose. And they look up and something strange happened in 1850 like they never had before. We had rain. We had lots of rain. And here's Vallejo. All of ALVISO goes under the water. Most of Milpitas goes under the water. And Peter Burnett is standing there at the courthouse looking at all the mud and deciding, we better take Vallejo up on his idea to move the capital to Vallejo. And they pick up McKee's boat, Commodore McKee, and they put all the documents from California up to Vallejo they go. So why do I say that California began right here? Because in Sacramento, when you got to Sacramento in 1850, there was just nothing more than more water. More water. The food for California was being produced in the Valley of Heart's Delight, what it later became. So this is why you can literally say that ALVISO-Milpitas corridor is so important. And then it moves up to the future, and we get into the 1970s, and we look at the environment.
Well, unfortunately, though, there's a transitional period, and we'll make it brief because you all want the monster, in which, and this sort of ties into the monster, in which all of the wonderful artesian wells that the Native Americans enjoyed in their oak groves and with their berries and oysters, the farmers, well-meaningly, are tapping out the artesian wells. And so subsidence, like the U.S. Geological Survey talks about, begins to take place along with silt from the gold mines, and the channels become clogged in ALVISO, the environment changes. Some out there boat builders lived on through the 70s, but ALVISO and that part of the region didn't overdevelop, and so it becomes a place out of time, much as is Niles. So if we're about to show films, we better begin.
That's right. So San Jose becomes a town in the flat area, and they try to figure out, well, what are we going to do with our, what's that smell? What are we going to do with our sewage? Let's send it out, away from us. So halfway between ALVISO and Milpitas, this necessary into the artesian slough comes the beginning of what we all have to deal with, and then landfill. And of course, they had to figure out what to do with their poor and elderly, so they bought the mansion of John O'Toole's and made it into an almshouse for the poor and elderly. And the city grew in San Jose. And you'll have to go to a website for the Chamber of Commerce in San Jose, and I think it's very profound. If you see the picture of the Chamber of Commerce, they've got a beautiful picture of the skyscrapers of San Jose silhouetted in front of the Milpitas Hills. I'm really not sure if they are really aware of the significance of those hills in the distance. And that's part of the message that I grew into as a younger teacher. So we fast forward to 1969. I come to Milpitas, and I'm proud to be a teacher, and I tell my friends, I'm teaching in Milpitas. And they look over and they go, where? Milpitas? And so the big joke was if you drove in an automobile, you know guys know what automobiles are, they would come north and south and between what used to be called the Oakland-San Jose Highway or the San Jose-Oakland Highway, depending which way you were going. That was the only road. And when you got near Milpitas, you'd go, what's that smell? Must be in Milpitas. And that was the dilemma that I was started with as a younger teacher, is to defend our heritage. And then I started looking into more and more of what Milpitas was all about, how they held off San Jose. In 1954, they held off the annexation. And again in 1962, and became proud to be the area of what we know today. I call it the capital of San Jose. But anyway, that was our story. And so tonight, I'd like to show you a little introduction as to where this was all filmed. So here we go. I want to thank Bay Area Backrooms for helping us with this production. And this short runs about 15 minutes, followed by, you guessed it, the Milpitas Monster.
Megan, go to the book table. Megan, go to the book table. San Francisco, right here. San Francisco.
Really? San Francisco? Sometimes we get long. Okay. So San Francisco farthest?
Yes.
Okay, San Francisco, come on up and get yourself a prize.
Yay.
We've got a couple of magnets that are available for sale. Charlie Chaplin and Rockabilly Anderson. We've also done a lot of Halloween candies, so we're gonna rapid fire say off these numbers really quickly. Okay, so we have 961, last three numbers, 961. We've got all kinds of things. We've got lovely bags. We're having a wonderful event on Tuesday for the kids and for the people who are like kids. From 4 to 6, we'll be showing cartoons that have to do with Halloween and spooky stuff.
On the glove.
It's a lot of fun. $1 donation.
No, I graduated from UCM Retreat. I'm from Maryland. So
all the activities that are coming up, so we're hoping that you all can participate in them.
That's the last one. Is that the last one tonight?
I don't know. You can look in the card.
I did.
You made it through the Milpitas Monster. Actually, it was a much better one than I thought it was.
Well, thank you. If anybody wants to sign up for a DVD DVD. I only have one left, but if you want to leave your address, I can let you hear about it. Thank you very much for coming, everybody. Thanks for supporting it. That's what I'm going to do. We got one left tonight. If anybody wants this one. Otherwise, I need to contact me by. Should have brought more, right? If anybody wants to contact me, I'll give you my card. Give me an idea if you want. The address is there. It's $30 a check. I can send it back to you.
This is,
That's the one. All ready to go. Inside, you'll see DVD.
That's why I'm trying to figure, there's 2 lines in your film.
Oh, okay, well, the film went through recutting and editing, so it went through the first cut, 120 minutes, then it went to 80 minutes.
Okay, so
That was
that-
over a 3-year period.
So at that point, it's possible that they threw in the 2 lines about,
The film was cut down from 120 minutes down to 80, and then went to 70.
okay, because they're running up that hill. They said it could be getting worse, it's worse.
It's worse,
And
it's got a
then-
bad feeling.
Yes, okay, so
That happened
that's
because we had about 8-year editing.
And this is our,
That would be the next thing. And so we kept going on the Milky Monster movie, trying to do synchronous sound with the old slate board. So scene one, take one, like that, when the Bolex runs for about 30 seconds, and then you start running out of sync with a motor that's up to can't sync. What do they call
we're
that?
just having fun with the home movie.
Starting to retire.
Thank you so much for getting this copy of Where the Flowers Have Gone. You have an interest in the 60s?
And she really wants to make her stop. It's really
Great, I think you'll find it kind of
there's only one actor who probably
erotic
figured out
journey of
who he
dysfunctional
was.
people through a very pivotal and exciting time. Young people awakening to sexuality, awakening to the possibility of
George
change,
Easter was always seeing
and
something.
coming out of that sort of dysfunctional materialism.
Symbolic of man, not
You know,
guilty.
and becoming their own person. That's correct.
Somebody's
So
polluting the
thank
bay.
you so much for your
Ain't like it used to be.
Thank you.
That's why one actor.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's got some original features.
Did you have fun today?
Yeah, I had fun. I was just goofing around.
Oh, really?
Well, I'm not you're a movie maker, I'm not, you're a writer, but being around Bob, I thought, I'd have just try to operate a camcorder even and see what the mechanics are in order to look at movies differently. You've made films?
When I was in 5th, 6th grade, yeah, stop motion, 8 millimeter. So we did like the Ray Harryhausen kind of stuff, where he did, Doug was the master of it, and we did like stacks of pennies, and they'd disappear, and they'd move, and then we did one where everything in the room flew around, because you had to, okay, now we're moving a foot, and it took us weeks and weeks. Our teacher was going through a divorce, so she kind of was like blowing off school, so we pretty much took over the class and did these interesting things, and then we did ones with little clay monsters and things like that, which is fun to see them do that at the Museum in San Francisco. It's a museum, but it's called the Zeum, and ZEUM, and they actually have a claymation studio where the kids can make something and then they can film it. But now, of course, instead of click, 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 it's the computer keyboard, and you move it and hit the thing and move it. And so then you can either put it on a zip drive, which makes it animated, or you can actually print it out as a flipboard.
We tried it 20 years later, it's no Peace Monster too.
Well, nowadays, everything's easier, I think, in some ways, and everything's harder. I mean, that was harder.
So we went ahead and, this is a publicity book promoting No Peace Monster 2. And you can see how we got very time capsule to use that for publicity. It's 50 years later, 20 years later, the town of No Peace is all grown up, but it's not alone. So that's the sequence, the graphic score. These are letters to the great mom, letters of support to do No Peace Monster 2. Came from the Chamber of Commerce in the city. And this was our superintendent. Crazy George was going to have a leading part in this film. He's going to be a school teacher that came back to teach science class. And of course, they take the kids on a field trip to the Milpitas Moaning Caves. That's 19.
Okay. to come out here and see how cool this is. I don't know if you've seen everything. It's really a trip. It's on. You're right.
And I'm also giving you a copy of a donation. Paul Mueller was here today and he dropped off a really nice. Oh, he's one that comes from time to time, kind of a tall fellow. He lives up in San Francisco. So, yeah.
So you put the check over there or the?
I put the check in.
It's a cool place, isn't it?
Karen's.
They have a
Thing and
Oh, he just drops it on, something to see him in this acknowledgement, when he drops it in the line. But then we brought him back to do what he just wanted to.
I was gonna say, is that actually, since he wasn't that bald,
That was him in 1976. Remember that? Sonny Crazy George the cheerleader.
you know, the one who's supposed to be
As far as
all that's
being able
right.
to do it, and it was really just impossible to get past it. Everybody was
Who
awesome.
sat in these chairs?
And you have to have $1 million
Well, that's why you do.
insurance and this. And
was
76,
Bronco
they never
Billy.
told me we were doing a feature length film. It's going to be 10 minutes, then it'll be groovy 30 minutes, and then with all the work and all we would go in, we said, well, what the heck? 2 more minutes, isn't that much harder at 30 minutes to do it? Short feature. So we did, and had no business in high school making a feature length film.
Yeah, it's precarious, so I don't want to have someone camera behind me, please.
okay.
That's dangerous. Oh, okay. We're gonna try it here. I'm not ready.
this or do you want to hold it?
I'm gonna hold it for a minute. If you can get the tripod, you have to elongate it and maybe set it up behind me, back here. But I can't do this with someone real close because it's too spooky. Just if I get sit down, maybe it's safer. Nuts. They kind of went away. I had beautiful sunlight and they were just in the air, and I guess they're down now. Let's see if they go up one more time. No.
Go.
Here I am at Sonny Cove, Santa Cruz, California, on a day when my distant soulmate dissed me, but realizing that friendship, connection to people of like mind, creative partners, that means everything in life. And hopefully, as Sonny said, we can live in the overworld, the eternal world, the world a little bit beyond the vagaries of Earth. This is a sacred spot, and I'm glad to be in it. Despite anything and anyone, anything that's happened, Jessica said she learned this from the problems with Edgar Casey's son, that you have to live for your own purpose. Turn it off.
Oh.
Here I am at Sonny Cove, Santa Cruz, California, on a day when someone who professed to be my twin soul of all time has dissed me. Would disregard a person who has their own karma to meet. I'm so glad for creative partner, friends, and all those who surround me in my life, that I celebrate the purpose for which I came to Earth, and I really hope we can all work together to fulfill these deeper purposes. The Casey readings tell us life is eternal, life is purposeful, and it's worth staying in the body. So I feel a certain tranquility and serenity at this moment anyway, and I'm thankful for my friends. It's reaching for a higher purpose, reaching to higher power, and realizing in all matters in the earth, as Jessica's past life father, Doc Hamilton, says, love finds a way. And that with soulmates, close souls, the tide may seem to be out, completely out, but in the case of real soulmates, it has a way of coming in again, especially as we look at the reincarnational perspective. Greetings from the earth plane. No soul in the body, but here at this intersection of earth, sand, and sea, I know that there's more to life even than the egotism and arrogance of a twin soul who'd rather blame me than look at himself. And those are his choices and how I see it. At this point, I feel a sense of certain liberation and freedom. But it's not possible unless we have a purpose greater than our earthly woes, a purpose that can see us through. And that purpose for me is the Edgar Casey readings as interpreted by the late Jessica Madigan, one of the great mystics of all time. And I'm here at Sonny Cove, ready to continue on with a purpose. Thank you.
Oh shoot, that's not even gonna get that way.
This is Doc Hamilton at Sonny Cove Beach. What kind of eternal purpose, Doc, helps you when you feel the difficulty of our earth plane closing in? What is some of your spiritual purpose that helps you?
I once heard somebody say, let go and let God. And I think that has helped me more than anything, because when times are rough, you have to realize you can't do it yourself, and you have to let go. And when you do, you get an internal power that is beyond all imaginings. That's what I found.
Thank you very much. Be here?
I have been here
I'm so glad. And where are we?
at a hotel.
What's the name of this place?
I don't know, Beach Hotel.
Yes, I'm glad you're here with. Good morning, Joe.
What's the name of this place?
Rio Sands Beach Hotel.
What are you doing, Mom?
Taking Vanessa's picture.
What are you doing, Mom?
Look up, Vanessa. Say hi.
Hi.
Great to
Hi.
see you. What are you doing here?
I don't know.
Where are you?
At Beach
At the
Hotel.
Beach Hotel. We're glad to have you here.
Yeah.
Are you over there making balloons? Did you win?
Character with attitude. And who are you?
I'm Ronnie. Who are you?
I'm an observer.
What are you observing?
A cool cat with attitude.
Well, you know, you got a cool cat.
You're a musician, aren't you?
Yeah.
What's your music about?
I'm a singer. I sing. Inspirational music.
What inspires you?
What inspires me? People inspire me.
Really?
Good people.
Good people.
Yeah, bad people I dismiss. Good people inspire me.
Oh, and what? When you do the music, it comes to you?
Yeah.
How much do you prepare and how much is spontaneous?
Usually, Very little prepared because I like being inspirational.
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
And
Thank you. I just wanted to get artists. Maybe I'm collecting artists and out there people.
your tip. And then I'm going to twist a buckle here to lock the air so I'm not messing with all this here.
A balloon.
Kids have way too much
Evelyn, did you help make it?
Yeah.
Now, okay, what you do is you make a circle. Now you can. Make the nose. There's a nose. Make it here.
Balloons. It's a camera to make
My
pictures.
camera.
You do? What do you like about it, Felicia?
I like that all my friends are here. And I like that you're here.
Yeah.
I do. I like spending time with you, Vanessa.
You do?
I do. I think you're really special.
Where are you? When did you first become interested in metaphysics, Lisa? Loud and clear.
Well, I first became interested in really Native American ritual, and when I was a little kid, and I was also very drawn to nature and spent a lot of time out in the woods. And that was sort of my first, I guess that was my indirect link to metaphysics. I later got interested in reading Aleister Crowley, various Wiccan, spirituality, interested in Taoism, Sufism, Old Bon, which is Chinese, pre-Buddhism in China. And I lived with someone for 8 years who was sort of a scholar of theology.
What are you going to do now? What movement?
Well, I don't know. I was just doing a couple of things. I'll probably do downward dog.
Okay.
Assisted yoga position. And the idea in downward dog is, I don't know if you can hear me, but
yeah,
you're supposed to kind of pull up on your hindquarters towards the sky. And the stretch is often the yoga.
What's doing for you, Lisa?
It's another yoga pose.
Mm-hmm.
It's the kind of, well, the cobra is the opposite of downward dog. I don't really know what this one's supposed to do. It's really a hamstring stretch, and it also stretches your spine, your vertebrae.
I gotta tell you, when I go to the you don't go through mice.
It takes a while to relax into it. I have to breathe. I was a physics major in college, and so the metaphysics originally was really, I considered it to be the place where magic and science, that sort of set that both shared, like sort of pre-Francis Bacon, the alchemist, the hermeticist, looking for the philosopher's stone. And so, I don't know, I think that science has a lot of metaphysics in it. It sort of has elements, lingering elements of it. And I studied science in college, was always really interested in observing the natural world and trying to see patterns and sort of see bigger movements and understand the natural laws that we're governing the forces, or the forces that were governing the ways things were moving. So I see a connection between the natural world and metaphor movement, and sort of the range, the limitation of perception of the senses, and how the brain works, how when somebody is blind, for example, their ability to hear increases so much, and they can hear things that nobody else can hear.
Really? When they're lying?
What's that?
When they're doing what?
When somebody loses a sense, when the brain is so plastic, the notochord is so plastic, or the neural cortex rather, that it can work around losses like that and reroute neural pathways and things.
So what do you, what gives you the most meaning in those things that you practice today, or help?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think I'm trying to figure out. I'm actually trying to find a daily practice that will help me sleep. Partly, I have, because of my health condition, I have a really difficult time sleeping at night, and a lot of anxiety at night. And
what do you suffer from, or may I ask?
I have scleroderma.
Oh, scleroderma. I know something about
and
that.
I have a bunch of other things, but that's the most.
You know, the Edgar Casey readings were the most helpful with scleroderma of any other illness, and they have almost like 100% cure rate. It's well documented, and I would recommend you look at the ARE in Virginia Beach or the ARE clinic in Phoenix.
I need to write that down.
I will do that.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
So, anyway, but in terms of other metaphysics, I mean, there's so many books I want to read that I haven't read. I mean, classics. What's that guy's name? John Dee and the other guy he worked with, Goetic Magic. I love reading old Hermetic documents. I love reading more recent people's interpretations of those documents. I'm also really interested in Genesis by Neil Douglas Platts.
Oh yeah, related, like he's related to Matthew Fox in Creation Spirituality Study. Did my graduate work.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I'm really interested in sort of, although I wasn't really raised Christian, I mean, my parents, I was Unitarian as a kid. I just think that Christianity has been so misinterpreted that it's really important to go back to the original texts and reinterpret them within the cultural context that they were written at the time.
I think so too. Thank you.
And all that beingness found its way into separation. Very close in association with all of this, but a little bit different. As though still connected, slightly separate, came into I am. And each of us are experiencing the I am, which seems very separate from the divine. And it's our connection with each other, our family members, our loved ones. But as we grow denser in that energy beingness, we
more enriched with, vortices, vortices such as Niagara Falls that my wife and I have been to. There are places, in fact, Sedona, yeah. So anyway, yeah. Thank you.
Well, you see it? I feel vibration, I feel physical, so as we change levels, it's like going from, which type of vibe? I mean, I just like going from, the first level is, I'm not familiar with the web.
Sure. It's a particular perception of reality. It's one that we're taught it in vortex theory, and basically it's like as if all the atoms and all the light waves and all physical manifestation, and as well as subtle energy tissue, but actually it's slightly differently.
Into a conceptual way, but before I always had a view of something different. And then you say,
Right.
so something has, I felt something too, and I felt that there was phenomenon, because I thought the divine was going to be more intense than it is.
How did I create that effect? It's something that you basically get. I'll talk about space and class. He decided to continue to help from where he was, and so he assembled a group of other divine beings, 7 other divine beings, and they created this divine healing realm, which we call between that divine healing realm and our. And the way that is accessed is through basically through transmission. The transmissions of vortex healing create a bridge between each practitioner and this vortex. So
I felt this feeling, but there was a vast expanse.
Yeah.
It was like this vast chamber, and so there was a very physical, tangible feeling in my body that I didn't actually expect.
Right.
So I was very surprised. And on the karmic knot, what I felt that when you first said, sort of choose something, was I?
Yeah, I think it was just your system was just responding to that release in a different way than it was to everything else. One by one. Crystals have an amazing way of holding consciousness.
What was interesting good work here. You could just visualize them all swirling around and connecting their energy.
I get hungry.
Big ones.
I get hungry.
I'm surprised they're in the same thing.
Having a spiritual consciousness. I mean, or spiritual, I don't know, he said it's
That she has to
Taoist nature is essentially God. If you want to translate it, maybe that's not a good do you think they were talking about something else?
They're talking about all of this.
resonates much better, doesn't it?
different. Yeah. Yeah.
She wanted to come.
Very nice.
How about for singing?
Oh, yes. Is anybody?
Like it's my profession.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's just do everybody. So everybody will do everybody's vocal cords.
Yeah.
Sounds good. We gotta put this closer. And we could sing some.
Well, when we do this little light of
Just like a couple lines or something. Okay. Yesterday a child came out to wander, caught a dragonfly inside a jar. Tearful when the sky was full of thunder.
Does it sound different to you?
It's hard for me to tell. It doesn't sound in my head. It sounds different.
Yeah, we didn't do a before and after.
Daddy, how are we doing on time?
Any other? Done vortex healing to tune into that consciousness.
And what was the name in India of Merlin?
Mahindra.
Mahindra. And about what time did it transfer?
5,600 years ago, so I guess 3,600 DC.
You were saying something about changing sleep patterns or
Yeah.
and why is that so? Because
recently there, the angels created an earth
How
angelic
about
bridge.
this? Put
you after this.
And there's just something about that that has, for a lot of people, made it so they don't need to sleep as much. And that's certainly been the case for me, and most people that I've talked to, at least within Vortex. But it's for everybody, so I'm sure everybody's may have felt something from that without necessarily knowing why that was happening.
So what are the expressions of sleep deprivation on the planet Earth?
Before was when an opening was created within the angelic realm, and it was sometime after that they created the Earth angelic bridge, but it didn't have anything specifically to do with the cosmic trigger. There's coincidental. With Omega, we start to move away from that. There's something called the Merlin's Jewel that you get in a class called multi-frequency, and it's an expression of Merlin's consciousness that is also an expression of creation, of all that is. Like really, this in this earlier class, it's just something that kind of sits there and it does a couple neat things, but it isn't that significant in terms of healing. But at a certain point, your system as a student is ready for it to be enhanced. And Omega is an expression of Merlin's Jewel. And it's interesting in that you don't actually channel it in the same way you channel vortex energy. With vortex energy, you have this bridge here, and you send the energy out through your system into the world. And with Omega, everything, all of creation is contained within the Omega ball that sits in Merlin's Jewel at the heart chakra. And so you just you find the person or the thing or the object that you want to work on within the Omega ball, and you work on it there, and the healing arises in creation, as sort of like a holographic representation. And it's a very, very powerful form of energy work. To receive the Omega ball, like most classes are 5 or 6 days long. That class is like 12 days long. And it's taught just every other year in Europe. So it's a significant stepping stone in the progression of Vortex classes. And the term Omega comes from, it is the the creative force, the alpha and the omega. It is, you know, certain things, certain vital lines being activated, other ones not, and that comes from Merlin's jewel.
Hungry?
And then the second part of your question was
spin.
The spin. Ah, yes. Yep. There is a spin. That's part of what makes vortex energy what it is. Is it's bright and sparkly and it spins, and that spin is incredibly important. It spins like this. You know, in the heart chakra it spins like this, and I guess coming out it would spin like that. And it just happens automatically. I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to turn it around, or what exactly it does, except just adding energy and movement to whatever it is that you're channeling into.
So it's coming out clockwise or counterclockwise?
From like this. So I guess for you that would be counterclockwise, and for me it's clockwise. Yeah.
No, okay. Thank you.
So
well, I think the person that's channeling it wants to channel out clockwise.
Right. For me, and then out to
from you. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting. What would the counterclockwise possibly mean? I mean, have you studied that yet, or is that something that?
I don't think it. I just don't think it happens.
Okay.
It can sometimes appear that that's happening because it's spinning so fast. It's like a car wheel that looks like it's going backwards because it's spinning forward so fast. But in general, just.
I'm getting hungry.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I did.
Nathan, can we invite you to have dinner with us?
Absolutely, I would love to.
And one of the things I'd like to mention now tonight, we're still trying to find out about the bonfire. They have gotten rid of all of the cement circles out there, but we have one big metal container. We don't know whether we can do that. So I'm going to go check with the ranger as soon as we leave here to find out of the energy, okay? And then after that, Corky is going to be doing the walk between two worlds. If you haven't done that, it's incredible.
And if you have, it's fun anyway.
We don't know about the fire because
No fireplace.
Email, but if you want information on the vortex class, check mark there, and then I'll be able to contact you.
Nathan, thank you so very much.
You can clap again, because I have one more thing.
You only get one round of applause. Now, wait a minute.
I got two. What are you talking about?
When he loses another karma knot, his ego.
Daddy?
That was fun, right?
Yeah. We made it.
We hope. Great. Old concrete World War I boat, fixed up in Prohibition, is a place of dancing and gambling in Outcoast, California. Okay, here. Fire in the room. I think the room will be fun. Yeah. Let's go down and see. Of course, it might not be used later. You don't know. What? We don't know where Megan is, so hope she comes. I think she might come, okay? Let's take a walk back. Okay? Oh, there's the moon. Look at the moon up there. Having fun? Boy, this is a fun place to be, isn't it? Yeah. Down at the beach? Yeah. Enjoying life? Yeah. Oh my God. I think that's the fact here. You can, here by this truck, hold on. I'm going to give you a second to stop there, okay? Okay. Anyway, come with me. Okay. Look at the moon. Stop right there and let's see if I can get the moon. Hold on. The wrong thing. There's the moon, right? Yeah.
Are you down there by yourself?
Look, Vanessa, I got the moon, right?
Yeah.
The moon's hard to get.
Look at the faces. Little kids are neat. Did you bring your Miss Piggy?
I bet Miss
Piggy did.
The bride, and what inspires me the most is my grandchildren and my children. They push me, they encourage me, they support me, and they always make me stretch.
You started many years ago on a spiritual path. What
Yes.
inspired you to seek and to achieve what you've done, and what have you done?
My grandparents.
Really?
Both of my grandparents were very, very psychic, and in fact, my grandmother was institutionalized twice because nobody would believe her when she was getting psychic information. And so it's because of her and her
Really?
experiences, yes.
Really? And then what happened to you?
When I had to, she raised me till I was 7 or 8, and when I had to go back and live with my mother, I had to close down because my mother didn't believe in it, and she'd freak out if I said anything about it. And so it wasn't until I got to come out to California and I met Dale that I got to reopen everything up again, because he believed.
Is your husband?
Yeah, Dale is my husband, and he believes in psychic gifts and abilities and these sorts of things, and is very spiritual. And when he heard about my grandmother and my stories, he said, well, you can't stay closed down. You have to open that up again.
Where did your grandmother come from?
Alabama.
Uh-huh.
And she was part Indian.
What tribe?
Cree.
And you formed a group called Solar Cross,
Solar
and
Cross.
you studied a little. Your path crossed Marcia Hunter Mossman at one
Yes,
point in that group.
yes, it did.
As did mine.
And then from that, I worked with other teachers, Seeker's Quest, with UCM and a lot of the ministers at UCM, and that became my spiritual community.
Now you're setting up educational programs, right?
Yes, we're getting an accredited degree program in theology or divinity, whatever you want to call it, for UCM.
And what is one little something simple that helps you to tune into spirit? Your guidance.
I imagine my grandmother's perfume, which
beautiful.
was white shoulders.
Beautiful, thank you. Excellent.
It takes me right to her every time.
Hello. Trying to learn how to. Just say, let's see, say your name and is first.
You ready?
Yes.
I'm Tom McCall. And well, I got on the spiritual path, but then I've always been spiritual. But when I went into this group, when Corey invited me up, I saw, wow, this is a big help to keep going in the right direction. So here I am.
What helps you or guides you in your life?
Me?
What do you believe in?
Well, the things that help me and keep me going in this trip of mine. Of course, there's a lot of it is from the group itself, never give me inspiration. But a lot is the feedback that I get from those who are involved with me. It's positive. That says, keep going, you're doing the right thing.
Thank you. Who are you, sir?
Hi, I'm Burrill.
And what is, can you share a little spiritual insight about your spiritual path?
Well, I've always been spiritual. I was raised Catholic and just kind of always believed in the Almighty.
That's great, thank you. Thank you. You two are the wise men of the evening.
Who's she talking about?
Maybe both of us. That's all for the best.
That's it. Okay, thank you. Get some of these wise people and get, why are we metaphysical?
And I work at the Center for Living with Dying, and I've been a part of the Center for Creative Living for a few years, and it's a great community of just giving and healing and exchanging ideas and energy. And I think what brought me to the spiritual path was love. And I've always had a connection with music, and how music is really a part of the rhythm of life, and how when we express that love, whether we're in someone's last dying moments, or whether we're at their birth, or whether we're at some place in their growth, we can walk beside each other with love, and that loving connection is what connects me to spirit.
Thank you.
To our earth, to the animals, to the plants, to the stones. All of that is that loving network of connection. And love more completely. How can I love more fully? How can I open my heart in a deeper and more powerful way?
And so it is. Thank you. Now,
And what got me on my spiritual path was lifetime memories and remembering I had past lives and trying to understand that. And to try to put it all together, coming from a fundamentalist Christian background, I had to explain or understand about past lives. And what interests me now is that I understand about past lives. Married, happily married, is that what I'm more interested in now is learning out how my spirit and my spirit's path can help benefit the world and all the people that I love, and how I can make the world a better place. Stand up and do it. That's it.
Magnificent energy, and each one of you has that ability to help love, to help heal, to help raise a consciousness of the whole area. And tonight we want to dedicate something to somebody who's helped raise the consciousness no more than anybody we know. And to surprise her, we want to say, Happy birthday!
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Tell me who you are and why you're on a spiritual path.
I'm Zeke, and I'm
Say it again? Okay.
Truth, Justice, and the American Way.
And who are you?
Superman. I'm in disguise as Zeke.
And I am on a spiritual path because I like to help people, and when I help people, I feel like myself. And I just think that there's a reason that everyone's here, and that's what spirituality is about. It's the reason why you live and get up every morning. So that's why I'm on the spiritual path.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Really, do some more. Do it some more, okay? Come on, do the rattle. Take the rattle.
my God. In what you hear, and let it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. We exalt thee, O God. We exalt thee. We exalt thee. We exalt thee. O God, we exalt thee. We exalt thee. We exalt thee. O God, we exalt thee. We exalt thee. We exalt thee. Oh God.
Bless them. Drum for the goose. Drum for the dead birds and the soul go to
Three birds, we get you short.
for heaven. Well, what we can do now is we can make sure that the souls go to the light. Yeah, go to the light. And whoever, I mean,
Gina, you have something to say? Actually, I was wandering off.
okay.
Okay, where are you wandering to? I'm not sure. Oh, hey.
I'm waiting for my mom to see where she's wandering to.
That is great. She's in the kitchen washing dishes.
I know, when she's done washing dishes, I'm sure we're wandering somewhere.
Where's she? Kat, you need help? What is she always?
She just likes having busy hands.
She what? I know.
She's a busy hand.
Yeah.
See, I think of it this way. I want to reclaim my weekends.
You're backlit and you're a silhouette.
I have to do laundry, I have to clean my house.
Yeah, that's a little better. Okay, that'll work.
Somebody else that, I can do my own laundry, but if somebody else scrubs my bathroom and scrubs my kitchen for me and vacuums my living room and stuff, I don't know.
I wash almost all my laundry by hand. I have to walk 3 blocks over the
In fact, it's kind of spooky.
do a very good job anyway.
I am. So if you find out if Kat wants to walk between two worlds, sure. Meow meow. You wanna walk between two worlds, woman? She's playing away back there, she can't hear us. What was happening? She did a walk on the beach. She had a meditative state walking on the beach. There she goes. Oh, really? Is it like that? A layer of hypnosis, level of hypnosis?
No, we've got lavender.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah. Why do
Kind of a relaxed group. Thank you.
The birds, all of our winged creatures of joy.
Get charged all the way from.
We call upon all the angels and all of the animals, four-legged, that represent this energy, the red energy, the fire energy, the phoenix as we return from the ashes. We say thank you for joining us today, there this morning. We thank you for blessing us, for anointing us with your beauty and joy. We thank you for keeping us in our aliveness as well. We know that you keep us cleansed. Thank you. Welcome, angels and guardians of West.
Welcome.
We hail and we welcome the guardians of the North. We know that you, all the angels and all the animals of the earth are with us today as well as we go through this beautiful, beautiful day. We say thank you for surrounding us in your wonderful light. We say thank you for keeping us grounded and for keeping us here as we can be in touch with our divine as well as when we plead and within our own divine selves. As we clear and protect ourselves this beautiful day and we surround ourselves in wonderful light, we know we have the perfect day in front of us. Hail and welcome, guardians of the Spirit.
Hail and welcome. One is that we have our Grief in the Holidays workshop happening on November the 16th. It's a wonderful workshop describing the holiday season and grief and loss. And then on December 13th is our annual Light of Lights candlelighting ceremony. And if you want to hear beautiful Ronnie Crixby sing, you've got to come to the ceremony. And Andy's going to be singing, and we're going to have Janet do the flute music. Incredible ceremony. We're going to light candles for our folks, with our candles, and end up right back in the room. Can you all, who's going to have the fence?
I don't want them to be
From the earth to our hearts, gratitude flows from our hearts to the sky. From the stars to the soul, into the fabric of our lives. And when the sun we stand, every woman on every we remember never freeze calls us to our deepest way. And when all is done, and when all is said, we are united in this cosmic web. And when all is done, and when life between you and me, the flowing river of life between you and me, flowing like the waves of the sea, across this land, hand to hand, we are a river, we are the web, we are the river, we are the web, we are the river, we
So I picked up shells and put a decorate the castle. And when I came back, they were gone. So I brought those pieces to the altar, and I've also included the altar. That's just
Birdie said, put a ring on it. Our birds reminds me of birds, remind me of freedom, and the freedom that we have to be totally ourselves here in this sacred place, this sacred circle that we create with each other. And I just want to say that my heart just is so full of being a part of this community. I can't tell you how much healing I've received just this week, how much better I feel all of the
Did somebody else bring something to the altar? Put it on when I wasn't watching? Well, you're gonna have a chance to, because we have these wonderful stones that represent anybody else in this area that would like to come to
represents all of the elements.
This ring was given to me by a friend of mine that I lost.
Yeah, there's one. Yeah. I just meant you're being upstaged by dolphins. We asked for magic today and we're getting it. Okay, Ronnie.
Okay,
This one was given to me by Reverend Sandy. And on the inside, it says forgive. So for me today, I need to work on a lot of forgiveness. So I also lay that on the altar.